and welcome to the first episode of the VHS Ate My Brain series. I'm going to try, this is an experiment. I wrote a book back in 2014 called VHS Ate My Brain, which turned out to be quite popular, surprisingly, for something that was self-published. It wound up becoming a magazine column as well for a while in Screen magazine. I did the first year of that before passing it on to another writer. But yeah, I thought I should say hi to the VHS community and say thank you to everyone for so much support over the last 6 years since it came out. So for this first episode, for the first few episodes, I'm just going to try and experiment with this. I've started a VHS Ate My Brain audio show on Mixcloud. If you go to mixcloud.com/Andrew Haunt with a W, you'll find the audio version of the VHS Ate My Brain show. So for this, here on my YouTube channel, I'm going to add some stills from the various movies that I'm going to talk about and just see how it goes. If you have any ideas for the show, if anything you'd like to see on VHS Ate My Brain, please let me know. So this first episode is all about, of course, one of my favourite movies ever, Trick or Treat. Here's the original X-Rental big box of Trick or Treat that I rented as a kid. Lovely Palace tape there. And it's about my unnatural, undying love for this film, the soundtrack, the scene around it, and everything related. So yeah, each episode will have a video intro. Each episode here on my YouTube channel will have a video intro, and then we shall have the audio version of the VHS Ate My Brain show, accompanied by some appropriate visuals. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to do a season of them, say 6 episodes or so, and see how it goes. And then we shall see how I can overhaul the format from there on. But welcome to VHS Ate My Brain. It's nice to be back in the world of magnetic tape. Remember, be kind, rewind. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, this is Andrew Horn, and you are listening to VHS Ate My Brain, the podcast, the online show, the online radio show, the thing where I talk and you listen to stuff. So back in 2014, I put out a book. I self-published a book called VHS Ate My Brain, which surprisingly people read. So thank you for that. That was amazing. It's still selling to this day, which is phenomenal. After 6 years, I'm so grateful that it's still going like that. So after I put out VHS Ate My Brain, I was getting messages from all over the world from awesome people that shared my love for VHS tapes, in particular X-Rental tapes, and the video rental era as a whole. And this led to me landing a magazine column with Screen magazine here in the UK. So for the first year of the VHS Ate My Brain column, I wrote that for the first year of that existence. It's still going now, I believe, with a different writer. But yeah, the original year of that was me carrying on from the book itself. But yeah, so I thought it was about time I reached out to the VHS community and said hi and just said thank you for 6 years that have just been phenomenal. I still get messages about the book, sharing the love for it. I want to thank you to Josh Schaefer, of course, over at Lunchmeat. Hey, Lunchmeat VHS, you absolutely rule. Josh did the artwork for the original VHS Ate My Brain book with the awesome demonic skull with the snaky hand coming out, grabbing hold of a VHS tape. It's awesome. Go and check out Lunchmeat. But, you know, if you are aware of VHS and the VHS collecting scene, chances are you already know about Lunchmeat VHS. Josh rules. He's one of the nicest guys in the entire scene, I must say. He is awesome. But if you really want to get geeky in terms of my connection to VHS, check out the documentary Adjust Your Tracking. I'm not in it, but you will see my name in the credits in the donations. So I'm listed on IMDb as one of the producers of Adjust My Tracking, along with like 190 other people. That is awesome documentary. But anyway, to the matter at hand, let's talk about some movies. So for this first episode of the VHS Ate My Brain audio show, which will also show up as a video show on my YouTube channel, I'm going to talk about a film that several people know I'm obsessed with and have been for many years, which is Trick or Treat from 1986. So yeah, I love metal, I love hard rock, particularly 80s style music like that, of those genres. I have had a journalism career in rock and metal journalism. Never got to interview anyone that was involved with Trick or Treat, which is annoying, but I have written about it on horrornews.net, I've written about it in my books, I've written about it in Scream magazine. I love this damn film. I first saw it when I was 12, so of course I saw it 6 years too early, as it is certified 18 in the UK, but hey, it was the VHS era, and if you knew where to go, you could get hold of tapes. You could find people that would rent you tapes if you were underage. I don't condone it, but at the time I wanted to see horror stuff, and they let me. But yeah, so Trick or Treat, not to be confused with the more modern Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat from 1986. It's about a teenager called Eddie Weinbauer, teenage metalhead, who spends his life being bullied, listening to metal and sending fan letters to his idol, the heavy metal rock god Sammy Kerr, played by the rather glorious Tony Fields, who sadly passed away since then. So Eddie Weinbauer was played by Mark Price, who had done some TV work before that. But right away from the start of this film, I had a bullied teenager that was different. There was a bullied teenager who was struggling with life and finding some release through heavy metal. So straight away I connected with that because that was me at 12. 12 onwards, complete metalhead. Still am, still proud of it. Yeah, I connected with that. So Eddie finds out, I'm not going to go too heavy into spoilers, but bear in mind this movie came out in 1986, so I don't feel too bad about that if I do spoil anything. Finds out that Sammy Kerr, his hero, has died in a hotel fire. Later on we find out that he caused the hotel fire as part of a satanic ritual in order to give him immortal life. But yes, Eddie, with the help of his friend Nuke, played by none other than Gene Simmons of Kiss fame, comes into possession of an unreleased Sammy Kerr album, and he thinks he hears something familiar in it. And what he hears is the word Ragman, which is Eddie Weinbauer's nickname. He plays the record backwards and finds messages in it that help him to overcome the annoyance of the bullies that he faces every day at high school, and he managed to get one over on them a few times actually. This leads him to carrying out more and more things that the record suggests, eventually bringing back Sammy from the dead as a super-powered electric demon. Very much in the sort of Freddy Krueger mould, but with more hairspray. Well, with hair. Chaos ensues. Of course, as with many horror films of the 80s that had teenagers in, chaos ensues. Bad guy goes and slaughters a load of people. In this case, it's a kind of mix of it has a Carrie vibe because the finale takes place at a dance. Sammy Kerr shows up on stage, and of course, as you do at these sort of events, starts firing laser bolts, lightning bolts out of his guitar and destroying people where they stand, leaving smoking shoes behind. There's a lot going for this movie. Oh yeah, it also has Ozzy Osbourne showing up in it a few times. Bear in mind, mid-80s, this was at the height of people thinking Ozzy Osbourne was the Prince of Darkness. This is way before the Osbourne's TV series destroyed all the mystique and made a laughingstock out of him, unfortunately. But yeah, this is before then, and he was still seen as the Prince of Darkness, and he shows up in this movie as a preacher, and I think that's just beautiful. The film isn't that well regarded by a lot of people, but I have an absolute ton of love for it. Mark Price as Eddie Weinbauer is instantly relatable. He's a bit dorky. He's not the best looking guy, not the fittest guy, but he's genuine and he's instantly relatable. Tony Fields as Sammy Kerr is awesome. He just embodies the lavish shock rock aesthetic of the time, which I loved so dearly. Lisa Orgolini as Leslie Graham. Again, she starts off being with one of the bullies, but she's a likable character. She is eminently likable. Eddie's friend Roger, played by Glenn Morgan. Again, I don't really know how. I'll stop saying again. I don't really know how Eddie and Roger became friends. I don't think it's really covered in the movie, but they go together well. Roger puts up with Eddie's weirdnesses, which become ever more weird. And it does have a lot of things going for it, the movie. One of the big aspects from it didn't shy away from heavy metal culture. So Eddie's room is full of metal posters. There's a lot of albums around, t-shirts. There's a lot of the trappings of the era and the scene. In fact, actually, I have interviewed someone that briefly appears in Trick or Treat. I remember now. I had the pleasure of interviewing John Gallagher from the band of Raven while I was working for Power Play Rock and Metal magazine, and I got to say, yeah, I first discovered you guys by watching Trick or Treat, and he was really amused by that and was really pleased to hear that's how I found him. That was a nice little aside anyway. The film has a fantastic soundtrack. The whole album was recorded by Fastway, so all songs in the movie by the band Fastway, which featured Fast Eddie Clarke from Motorhead, and Dave King on vocals, who went on to be in Flogging Molly of all places. But there's a lot of good stuff about this movie. It's not too long, it's a good length, it keeps the pace going, and it's just about possible to suspend disbelief throughout the whole thing. Even though the ending of it, with the battle at the radio station, you guys haven't seen that, you'll know what I mean, is not ideal. I would have liked something a little bit more spectacular for the ending, but I latched onto this movie in such a big way. The big scene at the dance where people are being obliterated left, right and centre is awesome. I love that scene so much. It was very satisfying. As someone that was bullied for years at school for the way I looked, the way I act, the music I listened to was a big metalhead at the time, and of course grunge was big, so even the metalheads hated me because I was into 80s metal and everyone else was wearing plaid shirts and going instead of singing properly. But hey, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I felt like an outcast for a lot of my school years, and this was one of those films that I always found a great deal of solace in. I would have been Eddie Weinbauer's friend. I like to think that I would have been his friend straight away. I mean, it's hard not to like him. You can see that he's just trying to have a good time and get through life as best he can. It's weird though, 'cause the VHS had amazing cover art. I have the big box VHS, the X-Rental one. It's the very X-Rental one I used to rent as a kid, actually. Managed to track that very same tape down. It has absolutely beautiful painted artwork. But a lot of the DVDs you see, they've got like just a random photoshopped guitar, or the worst DVD cover possible for any film I could imagine is a cover for Trick or Treat, and it's just got two very shoddily pasted together pictures of Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne, and has them top billed over the title. So it's starring Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne, even though Ozzy's in it for maybe 30 seconds and Gene Simmons is in it for maybe 5 minutes. And it's not really explained what happens to Nuke by the end. I've just realised, Gene Simmons' character, he must have gone off to sell some Kiss coffins or go on another farewell tour for another 15 years or something. But hey, I'm not ragging on Kiss, it's okay, I like Kiss. Did once interview one member of Kiss, Ace Frehley, and he was lovely. But yeah, the direction of Trick or Treat, it's not entirely consistent. It was directed by Charles Martin Smith, but you can see that there's a lot of things that have been done in the edit to kind of shorten it and stuff like that. Things that, it's a little rough around the edges, but it gets the job done. What is weird, there's like 4 or 5 people writing it, and it took a fair while for it to come out. So you can see there was some involvement there. The one scene that has always grated on my nerves is the scene in which the main bully's girlfriend is molested in a car by first a ghostly apparition, which then becomes a big rubber monster with a big licky tongue. Now, this seems like an excuse just to show some boobs on screen, and I think that's probably what gained it its 18 rating, because the rest of it is not extreme in the slightest. It's not even like Elm Street extreme at all. But there is a scene where the bully's girlfriend is riding around in a car, her top pops open, and suddenly she's being licked by a giant demon. I hate that scene. From what I remember reading, I believe it was in Fangoria, one of the writers had stated that wasn't in the original version of the script and was added afterwards. It was possibly even added after it was, a lot of it was shot, I would imagine. I don't know. I would have to research that a bit more. But yeah, that scene has always grated on my nerves somewhat, and does detract a bit from what is otherwise a really cool film. That actually does show up on the box art, along with Ozzy Osbourne on the painted cover art. Along with Ozzy Osbourne, some snakes and demons and things that aren't in the movie, and Ozzy is pictured as having long hair and showing up with a white dog collar on, which he doesn't in the film. But there's a lot of nods to the culture of the time. There's a lot of pop culture references to of the time, and it's just cool seeing a full-on metalhead have the lead in a horror movie. I mean, in a lot of films, the metalheads are the dunces, the airheads, the idiots, or the knuckleheads, or the friends, or there's a joke made out of them, like in, say, Terrorvision or something like that. And it's just nice to see one being a straightforward leading man. And as a leading man, I do think that it works well. It works really well. Mark Price, he's clearly got a lot of experience. He's very natural on screen, especially when he's being awkward around the very pretty Leslie. You can see that the character would definitely act like that, and you end up rooting for him, and you want those bullies to get their asses kicked. You want them to succeed, and for a while you are kind of siding with Sammy, especially when he's going around doing stuff to the bad guys of the piece, the bullies. But then, of course, it all goes too far at the dance. Things get crazy. People start exploding, and yeah, the body count goes up. It is billed in some places as a comedy horror, but the comedy aspects kind of fall flat for me. It didn't feel that much like a comedy. A lot of the humour in it comes from the dynamic between Eddie and Roger as the main friends of the thing. But I do recommend it. I will always recommend it till the end of my days. I adore Trick or Treat. I would love to write a sequel. Please let me write a sequel. Whoever's got the rights to it. Who was it originally? It was originally released by De Laurentiis back in '86. So whoever's got the rights to Trick or Treat, think about it. I would love to write a sequel to that. Think about what Sammy could do now. In the first film, in the original Trick or Treat in 1986, Sammy was getting around via anything that had a speaker in it, so anything that had like a radio or a stereo or anything like that. Think about what Sammy could do with the internet. That would give him a huge reach. So yeah, that's my love for Trick or Treat from 1986. I have a huge love for that. I have a huge love for the soundtrack album. I have too many things that I've tracked down from this. I have a Trick or Treat t-shirt with Sammy Kerr rocking out on it. I have the album on CD. I have it on vinyl. I've tracked down one of the video posters, which is so beautiful. And of course I have the Big Box VHS. I would very much like to see Sammy Kerr come back in some fashion, even if it's just a comic book sequel would be awesome. Maybe someone like Zenoscope or someone like that may be interested. If not, get in touch. It's at Andrew Haunt on many things. That's Haunt with AW. Just look up VHS Ate My Brain and you can find me. So yeah, that's been an episode of VHS Ate My Brain, the radio show podcast thing. This will be available in a video form on my YouTube channel as well. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Remember, be kind, rewind every time.